Welcome back to the 700 Club. Israel and the Biden administration stand at a diplomatic and military crossroad. Israel says it needs to finish the war against Hamas in the key city of Rafah in Gaza. But the U.S. may not allow Israel to use American weapons in the battle. Chris Mitchell brings us that story from Jerusalem.
In his State of the Union address, President Biden put the burden on Israel to protect Gazans.
Israel has an added burden because Hamas hides and operates among the civilian population like cowards under hospitals, daycare centers, and all the like. Israel also has a fundamental responsibility, though, to protect innocent civilians in Gaza.
In order to increase humanitarian aid into Gaza, the administration announced plans to build a pier in Gaza. Senator Marco Rubio pushed back on that idea on Fox News.
The only people on the ground with any organization to distribute things are Hamas. So in essence, can they guarantee that we're going to go through all this trouble, put American lives on the line, just so aid can be distributed to Hamas, who in turn will then control it like they've controlled everything? There's no Hamas fighters starving to death, and Hamas has no history, none whatsoever. They have zero history of either helping civilians or people. So this is all for show, and it's dangerous.
Rubio says the fastest way to get aid to Gaza is to defeat Hamas. It's a goal Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pledged to IDF soldiers at a graduation ceremony, saying Israel had to take out the last Hamas stronghold in Rafah.
Whoever tells us not to operate in Rafah is telling us to lose the war, and that will not happen. There is international pressure, and it is increasing. But it is precisely when the international pressure increases that we must close ranks among ourselves. We must stand together against the attempts to stop the war. This is what the psalmist says, "Who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle." But today, we have a clear goal, achieving total victory in the war.
In what would be a major move, the Biden administration appears to be considering restricting the use of U.S. munitions if Israel launches a military operation into Rafah. David Ignatius of The Washington Post quoted former U.S. ambassador to Israel, Martin Indyk. If Israel launches an offensive in Rafah without adequately protecting the displaced civilian population, it may precipitate an unprecedented crisis in U.S.-Israel relations, even involving arms supplies. Colonel Richard Kemp, former commander of British forces in Afghanistan, tells CBN News that would play into the hands of Hamas.
I think it's very irresponsible of the United States because President Biden himself and Secretary Blinken have both said that they understand Israel's need to eliminate Hamas, and to do that, they've got to go into Rafah. If they don't destroy Hamas in Rafah, then effectively Hamas have survived and will have won the war. They will declare victory. There will still be a major threat to Israel.
Meanwhile, the head of Hamas, Yair Sinwar, is reportedly holding up the negotiations for a ceasefire and the release of the remaining hostages. The Wall Street Journal reports Sinwar believes Hamas has the upper hand in the talks because of the splits in the Israeli war government and divisions between the U.S. and Israel. So he's demanding a permanent ceasefire and a pullout of all Israeli forces from Gaza, conditions Israel won't accept. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.